What's up, guys? Welcome to the line change. And in this video, we're going to be talking about and asking the question, how does the Canucks top 9 forward group stack up against the rest in the Pacific Division? So I found this article on Canucks Army, and I thought it was very interesting, and it was something we could talk about. But before we dive into that, I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of that incredible artwork you see there behind me. And you guys can get your hands on some Gassy Jack Art by checking them out at GassyJackArt.com. You can also find them on Instagram at Gassy Jack Art. So let's go ahead and dive right into this article. As I mentioned, from Canucks Army, it's written by Stefan Roget. And he goes on to say, earlier in the week, we asked the question, do the Canucks have the best top four in the Pacific Division for 2025-2026? We also did a video on that particular topic. You guys can find that right here. So if you guys want to check that out, you guys can find it right there. Today, we asked the same question about the Canucks' top 9 forwards heading into next season, and we can tell from the outset that the results won't be nearly as positive. So let's instead phrase this one as, how do the Canucks' top 9 forwards stack up against the rest of the Pacific Division in 2025-26? Laying out the Canucks' own top 9 is pretty straightforward at this point. Here's who we've got. You've got Jake DeBrusk, Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser, Niels Höglander, Philip Hedl, Evander Kane, Kiefer Sherwood, Aatu Räty, and Connor Garland. There's a little quibbling that could be done with this set. Some might have Drew O'Connor or Linus Karlsson in the top 9 instead of, say, Sherwood. But since our main method of comparison today is raw points, and since Sherwood had 40 of them last year, we decided to go with him for now. This top 9 collection put together a cumulative 303 regular season points in 2024-25, or an average of 33.7 per player, which doesn't sound like much at all. However, this total comes with some serious caveats. It includes 0 points from Kane, who missed the entire regular season with multiple injuries. In 2023-24, however, he put up 44 regular season points. It also contains shortened seasons for Hedl, whose season ended early from a concussion, and Räty, who spent most of the year in the AHL, but still paced for nearly 40 points. Then there's the whole EP40 thing. Suffice to say that this is a top 9 group that can and should do better, at least point-wise, in 2025-26. But how much better? How much better in comparison to the competition around the Pacific? Let's find out. Taking a look first at the Anaheim Ducks, who have Cutter Gauthier, Leo Carlsson, Mikael Granlund, Frank Vatrano, Mason McTavish, Troy Terry, Chris Kreider, Ryan Strome, and Alex Killorn. Their cumulative 2024-25 points are 415. The Anaheim Ducks are no longer the soft point of intra-divisional comparison they once were. Through a largely successful rebuild process, the Ducks have built themselves a young and dynamic top 9 set of forwards, and also done well to supplement that core with productive veteran adds. The result is a top 9 that was the third most productive in the Pacific Division last season. That only projects to get better from here as players like Carlsson, Gauthier, and McTavish all continue to upswing. If everything went perfectly for the Canucks, this is still a top 9 they could compete head-to-head with and still come out on top. But if Carlsson and or McTavish take a step forward, it's hard not to see this as a group that has superior depth to Vancouver at both center and on the wing. Taking a look at the Calgary Flames, Jonathan Huberdeau, Nazem Kadri, Connor Zary, Blake Coleman, Mikael Backlund, Matt Coronado, Joel Farabee, Morgan Frost, and Igor Sharangovich. The cumulative 2024-25 points are 368. Surely the Canucks can at least stack up against the middling Flames, right? Even though the above top 9 enjoyed a relatively healthy 2024-25, the Flames still only barely outscored a Canucks top 9 that featured swaths of missing time. And while there's some youth at play here, the Flames are still too reliant on aging talents like Huberdeau and Kadri. Is Kadri really going to hit 35 goals again at age 35? Probably not. So long as the Canucks can get some bounce backs from the players who need it and at least a little health luck, this is a top 9 they should be better than throughout the entirety of the 2025-26 campaign. Taking a look at the Edmonton Oilers. Ike Howard, or is that Eek? I'm not sure. Probably mispronounced that. Connor McDavid, Zach Hyman, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Leon Draisaitl, Andrew Mangiapane, Vasily Podkolzin, Trent Frederic, and Matthew Savoie. Cumulative 2024-25 points is 367. How good are the likes of McDavid and Draisaitl? So good that this top 9 includes a player with 0 2024-25 points, Howard, who is in the NCAA, a player with 1 point, Savoie, and a player with just 15 points, Frederic. And they still outscored the Canucks by 64 collective points last year. Put differently, McDavid and Draisaitl alone scored more than any 4 Vancouver forwards combined, and that's with McDavid only playing in 67 games. Call the Oilers top-heavy, and it's true. Say they lack depth. Call them imbalanced, sure. But there's just no way to say that this isn't a better top 9 group than the Canucks have, especially once the upward potential of prospects like Howard and Savoie is more fully considered. I probably butchered his name too. Los Angeles Kings, Kevin Fiala, Anse Kopitar, Adrian Kempe, Andrei Kuzmenko, Quinton Byfield, Alex Laferriere, either one. Warren Fogle, Philip Deneau, Trevor Moore, cumulative 24-25 points, 462. The Kings have some real consistency in their top 9. They're bringing back all 9 players from last year, and it's a group that truly shares the load. All 9 of them got at least 40 points last season, except for Kuzmenko, who arrived partway through the year and got 17 in 22 games as a King. That's a spread that is difficult to compete with. The Kings have question marks on the back end, to be sure, and that's where the Canucks can make up some ground in 2025-26. But at forward, LA still has a clear advantage in depth, and barring some truly stellar Canucks seasons, probably at the top end too. There are rumors that this might be Kopitar's last season, which definitely changes the dynamic after this year. For now, however, he remains one of the best two-way centers in the game. Taking a look at the San Jose Sharks, William Eklund, Macklin Celebrini, Tyler Toffoli, Jeff Skinner, Will Smith, Adam Gaudette, Philip Kurashev, Alex Wenberg, and Colin Graff. Cumulative 24-25 points, 335. Even the rebuilt Sharks outscored the Canucks in 24-25, but only just barely. Really, this is a tough comparison to make. On the one hand, Celebrini is on pace to take over from McDavid as the best player in the division eventually. He's not there yet, but he's getting better by the day, and he's got a burgeoning supporting cast to support him. Besides the young stars, however, the rest of the San Jose contingent is a little less than inspiring and features some outright question marks in the form of Skinner, Gaudette, and Kurashev. In other words, barring a total disaster in Vancouver, a la last season, this is a group that the Canucks should be able to stay ahead of for at least another season. The Sharks' days is coming, but isn't here quite yet. Taking a look at the Seattle Kraken, Jaden Schwartz, Matty Beniers, Capo Caco, Jared McCann, Chandler Stevenson, Jordan Eberle, Mason Marchment, Shane Wright, and Eli Tolvanen. Cumulative 24-25 points is 400. Kraken doesn't look like a great set of forwards on paper, and yet they cumulatively cracked the 400-point mark last season and did so on the strength of some come-ups from younger players like Wright and Kako. They've lightly supplemented their top 9 with Marchment from Dallas, but are largely rolling with the same group that didn't quite get it done in 24-25. The clear issue here is that the Kraken are lacking in star power. Hey, so too were the Canucks in 24-25. But at least they've got the potential for a major Elias Pettersson comeback. The Kraken just don't have that level of star potential on their roster, and that should likely result in another languishing year for them and another season in which the Canucks can at least say they're better off than their Pacific Northwest rivals. And lastly, we have the Vegas Golden Knights. Pavel Dorofeyev, Jack Eichel, Mitch Marner, Ivan Barbashev, Tomas Hertl, Mark Stone, Brandon Saad, William Karlsson, and Riley Smith. Cumulative 24-25 points, 526. Do we have to do this one? The Golden Knights are plainly the class of the division and weren't all that far off doubling the points of the Canucks' top 9 in 24-25. Remember that stat about McDavid and Draisaitl outscoring any 4 Canucks forward? Well, it applies to Eichel and Marner too. And we dare say that Eichel and Marner have a lot more support than do McDavid and Draisaitl. You won't find a stronger center core than Eichel, Hertl, and Carlson, and you won't find many separate forward lines with 2 wingers as good as Marner and Stone on them. In our piece comparing the top 4 defenses of the division, we thought that the Canucks could reasonably compete with Vegas there if all went well for them, but when it comes to stacking up top 9 forwards, we must admit that the Golden Knights are very much in another stratosphere, a Vegas sphere, if you will. And that is the article talking about top 9 forwards. I have to absolutely agree with a lot of what Stefan Roget said. Obviously the Canucks top 9 is missing a very key piece. That is the second line center. Now, yes, you can say, oh, Filipino is that second line center. But is he really a second line center? Or is he a third line center? So obviously, Canucks have a lot of questions, or rather Canucks fans, have a lot of questions going into the season about how their top 9 will be. But this is how Stefan Roget thinks they stack up in the Pacific Division. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. And, do you guys have a different opinion of Stefan Roget and myself? Obviously, I'm very heavily leaning towards Stefan's, what he says here. I can't really critique anything at all because he's 100% right, at least when it comes to the Canucks and how they stack up. But once again, if you guys have any differing opinions, go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You can find and interact with us on social media. You can find us on Facebook. Just search The Line Change to find our Facebook page. You can find us on Instagram at The Line Change. You can find us on X at Line Change Van. You can find us on TikTok at the TLC Podcast. You can also find us on Blue Sky at The Line Change. Feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. If you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. On Spotify, feel free to give us a follow as well as rate and review us. It is, of course, greatly appreciated. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, let's go Canucks, and I'll see you guys in the next video.